Exercise 16. In this exercise, we're going to look at how SolidWorks deals with configurations and with design tables. To start off, let's have a little explanation of what configurations are. What you can do with configurations is if I quickly just build a part file. And in this case, I'll keep it very simple. Start a sketch. And I'm just going to draw a block. And we'll add some dimensions to it. And I will have it set it up so that it's in inches versus metric as it's appearing here. Okay, so here we have our dimensions plugged in. Let's make those even 4 by 6, and I'll just proceed to extrude that approximately ½ inch. Now I could go ahead and also select the face and start a sketch, and I'll just draw a little hole in there with a cut through all. Alright, now configurations enable the user to make multiple versions of the same part file with just variations to different entities. And this is how it works. Up here at the very top left of the Feature Manager design tree, you'll see a little, it looks like a little branch. And what it is, it's the Configuration Manager. If you select that, you can now go in and right-click at the very top and add configurations. So I'll add the first configuration, and I'll call this one the STD for the standard. And I'll right click and I'll add a second configuration and call this the 8-inch. Configuration. And we'll add one more. Right click, add configuration, and this will be the 10-inch. Okay, now let's say for the very first one we'll keep it at the standard, which is the 6 by, if I click on here we could see, the 6 by 4. Now let's go to the 8-inch. I could double click on the 8-inch configuration out, and that activates it in the feature tree by double clicking on it. I could double click on the model, double click on the dimension I'm interested in changing, type in 8, and now there's options in here. Do I want it to add it? If I hit this little arrow to the right, do I want to add it to just this specific configuration? To all the configurations? That would be the 10 and the STD, or just the specific configurations. I'm going to just add it to this configuration and hit the green check mark. Now if I rebuild, of course, that's going to get larger, as we can see there. Now let's go to the 10-inch configuration. Okay, the 10-inch still is set up as the standard was. Let's double click on it, double click on the dimension, type in 10 inches, and we'll add one more feature to this. How about the hole? To modify the hole as a suppressed or unsuppressed state, we can do that. We could simply right click on it, and right here we have suppressed as an option. We could click on that, selecting it. Now when we go to the STD, we should still get our original model, which was 6 by 4 with the hole. The 8-inch is 8 inches wide with the hole, and the 10-inch, as we double click on it, should be 10 inches wide without the hole. So we could do this just by simply adding them in the feature manager, or the configuration manager, right next to the tree there. And you could make a limitless amount of variations and changes. So that's just a summary of what configurations are capable of. You could do these in assemblies as well, and there's lots of other features that can be modified too. So let's look at the lesson now. To start off with, exercise 16, very similar to what I just showed you with the configurations. We're going to go to File, New. I'll select the standard part. Let me make sure that I have all my settings correct. For the units, should be ANSI and inch, up to 3 decimal places. Okay, I'm going to select the front plane and start my sketch. And right at the origin there, I'm going to drag out a rectangle. And we'll dimension this rectangle at 3 by 5. And I'll just proceed to extrude that. And we'll extrude it 2 inches deep. And now we'll put that hole in. We'll start a sketch on this face. Find the circle tool. Draw a hole in the side. We'll add some dimensions to it. 0.75 for the diameter. And we'll dimension it off of the edges here, 1 inch by 1 inch. And extrude cut under features through all. Basically the same thing that I just did with the configurations, but we're going to use a design table, an Excel-based spreadsheet inside SolidWorks to add the figures. The next thing we want to do is we want to turn on the annotations. If I right-click on the annotations folder on the top of the tree, we can turn on Show Feature Dimensions, and that will display the annotations for us, as you could see on here. The next thing we might want to do is name these. Each dimension has its own properties, and in those properties there's names. For example, this 3 inch, if I right click on it, I have the ability to go to its properties. Actually, you don't have to right click on it. You could actually look over to the left. This appears automatically. And what we're looking for is the primary value. So in each dimension has its own first name and last name. The last name here, which is sketch 1, is the actual first sketch that we started, so therefore SolidWorks calls it sketch 1. If we were to start a second sketch, that would be called sketch 2, so on and so forth. The first name is the dimension that you put in. Was this the first one that I added, the second, the third, the fourth? So this one, which is the 3 inch dimension, was the very first dimension. I know that because it's called D1. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change that. I'm just going to click on that primary value box and go over where it says D1, and we'll call this the height. And I'll hit the apply button. Now the next dimension I'd like to fiddle with is the 5 inch. We'll click on that and over to the left here. This is D2 at sketch 1. We'll call this the width. Hit the green check mark to apply it. Now also the 2 inch dimension. If we click on that, that will be the depth. And finally, the hole. Rather than having it just call out extrude 2, we'll click on it, the text that is, 2 times until we get access to it and change it. And we'll call this hole 1. All right, we have everything set up. One last thing we might want to do is zoom out a little bit so that we can see all the dimensions down below here. And also, I'd like to show you how to turn on the dimension names so we can see those names. We go to the options menu. And on the very first page, we'll see show dimension names. Third one down. Check that little box and hit OK. And now we can see the names that we gave. Next step, we want to go ahead and we're going to bring in the design table. So we go here to the top, go to Insert, Design Table. Now we have options here. We could bring in a blank template, have it automatically create our template for us, or we could go to, from File. Now the auto creation, it kind of goes through steps where we could select what we want to drop in automatically. I'm going to bring in a blank template just to show you how to start from scratch. But from File generally would be used if you already brought one into this model, you added all the different dimension names and factors to it, and then you exported it out to Microsoft Excel, enabling someone to go ahead, make large modifications on a very large scale, maybe hundreds of thousands of different changes to it, and then re-importing it into the model with those changes, and the model will automatically update. We're just going to use the blank, and there's some other options. Allow the model edits to update the design table or block those. We'll allow it to update, so if we change the model, it will update our design table. And then there's some down below here you could go through on your leisure and look at those. I'm going to go ahead and hit the green check mark now to apply, and it should automatically bring up Microsoft Excel. Now what this does is it tells us if there's anything already in there for configurations, and sure enough there's the default configuration that's always in any SolidWorks model that you open up. Okay, now we have here the first instance. We could actually change that text and put in our own name, and we'll call this the small box, which is what we have right now. And we'll type in the next cell. We'll call this the medium box. Cell 5A will be the medium box with no hole. Don't put in any symbols that might be thought of as like a division symbol or minus symbol or multiplication. It actually looks at those. This does allow you to work with equations in this table, just like you would in Microsoft Excel. So avoid those, or else you might get an error. So in this case, just type in no hole, or I'm sorry, this one will be with hole. No, I'm sorry, no hole. And we'll enlarge that cell. And then finally we'll make the large box. Okay, now cells 2B, C, D, E are going to contain each one of these dimension names. And the way we bring them in is we just have to select the cell we want to drop it in. And we want the length, width, and height. So actually in this case it'll be the depth will be the first thing. We'll just double click on the depth, and you'll see it will automatically type in the text that we added earlier. This is a lot easier than typing it in manually, and eliminates errors. So we'll go with the width for the next one, and then the height. And I apologize for the misspelling. And then the next thing we'll do is we're going to drop in the hole. Now the hole's a little trickier here. We just have to click on this little tab for the feature manager to pop up, and double click on the actual feature in the tree. Now you'll see that we have status of each one of these. The depth is 2 inches, the width is 3 or 5, and the height is 3. And the state of the hole is unsuppressed currently for the small box. Now we just type in the other values. in this case, the medium box is going to be 4. Actually, no, I apologize for that. The medium box will be 3 for the depth, and the width will be 7, and I did mine a little bit backwards from the manual, so I apologize for that. And the height will be 4. And the state is unsuppressed. I just type in U. And go back to the next one. 3, 7, 4. And this one is suppressed, so we type in S. Just S by itself. Doesn't matter if it's lowercase or uppercase. And now the large box is going to be 6 by 12 by 10. And this will be, the whole will be unsuppressed. So we type in U. You don't have to type in the whole line of text there. And that's it. Now to have it apply these changes to the model and these different configurations, we just simply click in any of the gray area on the model itself, or I should say the away from the model. And we should get feedback to let us know if it was successful. And this means that it was successful. It will actually say the design table generated the following configurations: the small box, medium box, no hole, and large. If there's any missing, go back, make sure you don't have any mathematical symbols that might have been accidentally added while you were typing those in, or make sure you didn't leave anything blank. If you need to go back to that to edit it, it's rather easy. You could just return back to go back here to insert. Okay, just make sure you hit rebuild, and then to edit the design table, if for some reason you forgot something or you need to change it, you go to the configuration manager and the design table should show up at the very top. You could always right click on it to edit the table and it will bring it back up, or it should. In this case I got a little failure, I'm not sure why, but if we look here, if we could double click now on the large box, and it will give us the large version of our model, the medium box, and the medium box without a hole. You can see the hole becomes suppressed, and the small box. Next thing I want to do is just show you how to create a quick drawing from this. Now we could go ahead and go to File, Make Drawing from Part, and we'll bring this in a large D size sheet, and we'll bring in a front and a top. And let's make sure that our scale is set up. In this case it's rather large, so we're going to use a custom scale of we'll try 1:1 here. Okay, and now we could just move this over. If we want to see hidden lines, we could also click on the view and select hidden lines over here so we could see the hole. And now what I want to do is I want to make several copies of this with the different configurations showing. So in this case I could just select these views, holding control, I can select them both, and now I go up to the top to edit, copy, select somewhere on the sheet, click, edit, paste, and click, edit, paste, and one more set, click again, edit, paste. Alright, we may not have enough room. Let me just get rid of one of these. I was going to keep a medium with no hole, but let me just delete those there so we have more room to put the rest in. Okay, so this one I'll go ahead, move it over here, right click on it, And I could go to its properties and select that I want this to be the medium box or the medium box without a hole. I should have actually held control while I selected both of them. That's okay. And now here will be the large box. Again, hold control while selecting both. Right click, go to properties, and select the large box. The next thing we could do is insert the dimensions. So we could go over here to annotations, model items, and import into all views, entire model, and our dimensions should appear automatically for us. Now, you may not notice unless you zoom up, but the actual dimension names are still appearing. To deactivate those, you go to the Tools options at the top. And third one down on the very first sheet, Show Dimension Names, turn it off. And that should clear that up. Okay. Now to reinsert the design table, we select this view, go to, actually go to Tables. Let me select one of the views again here. And we should see Design Table. Select that, and it should drop in for us. I believe I might be having some problems with my copy of Microsoft Office being a little bit old. I might have to look into that, but let's try it one more time. Design table. Oh, there it is. It actually did drop in. Got 2 copies. Let me delete one. Okay, and there is our design table. Now, if we want to enlarge that and make that a bit bigger, we could go to the Tools options, and under Document Properties, there's Annotations Font, and this would be under Tables, and we just select a larger font. We'll go with 28 point. Hit OK. And it should update for us. Appears that it did not. Anyhow, I'll look at that a little later. But as you can see here, how we could use the design table to generate automatically a series of different parts that are all based off of an original. And that ends exercise 16.